opposition to anti-Semitism. I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank the gentleman from Tennessee. I'll now recognize my friend from Texas, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've probably been wondering why all of these pro-Palestinian anti-Semitic protests are occurring across the country today. Seems organic, right? Just some college kids protesting like it was back in the 60s and 70s. Same song, different verse. But is that true? We've seen this before, even more recently than you might think. In 2020, we had the Summer of Love and the organized, coordinated BLM and Antifa riots. In 2024, we had the organized and coordinated anti-Semitic protests and riots on college campuses around the country, like we're seeing right now. And what do these 2 years have in common? I know, they're both presidential election years. Sometimes I feel like Bill Murray on Groundhog Day. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Groups with similar ideologies and goals causing chaos and riots across my nation, and they've just picked a different cause this year. This year, it's my friends of Israel and my friends, the Jewish people. This isn't just some grassroots effort of college kids rallying around a joint cause, picketing the campus with signs and shouting, "From the river to the sea," for those who know what that means. These are people shouting anti-Semitic remarks, taking over and barricading themselves inside campus buildings, and in the case of Columbia University, taking a university employee hostage inside of a campus building. What are we seeing? What we're seeing now is not a simple protest. It's well-organized, violent occupation of campuses funded by outside organizations by their wealthy, liberal donors. And who are these wealthy donors? Don't shoot the messenger. I am not the one saying this. This is in Politico. And we can all agree that Politico is a relatively trusted source, especially for the left. And according to a recent Politico article, some of the biggest donors behind these protests are George Soros, David Rockefeller Jr., and Nick and Susan Pritzker. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit to the record the article from Politico titled "Pro-Palestinian Protests Are Backed by Surprising Source, Biden's Biggest Donors." Interestingly enough, in his remarks about the campus protest, President Biden said, and I quote, "Destroying property is not a peaceful protest. It's against the law." But it seems like the president is talking out of both sides of his mouth, so which one is it? The protest wouldn't have happened in the first place without his donors funding it. But for you, President Biden, none of this would be happening at all. And remember, this isn't me saying this, Republican Wesley Hunt, this is Politico. You should have seen this coming. This is a presidential year after all, and I suspect that many of the protests that we've seen on college campuses may have just been recycled from 2020 riots and rioters and protests. And why do I suspect that? New York City officials said that close to 30% of the people arrested at Columbia and 60% of the people arrested in City College were not affiliated with the universities at all. In my home state, over half the people who were arrested at the University of Texas had no tie to the university at all. Mr. Kestenbaum, you brought up a very good point. You see, if you were black students, you wouldn't be sitting here, period. Because the entire campus would have changed their social media profiles to black dots, and these people would have been fired. These teachers would have been fired, and you would have your justice. And just because I'm black, I look different from you, doesn't mean that we get different treatment and we should be treated better than you because we're all Americans. I know we're all Americans because I fought for this country. I went to West Point. I fought beside my Jewish friends. I went to Cornell University for grad school. I learned beside my Jewish friends. And you should see the emails and text messages that I'm getting from my Jewish friends that I grew up with. I want to let you know that I have their back and I have your back. And just because you have a lighter skin color than me doesn't mean that you get to get treated differently than me, because we're all Americans and we all should be treated fairly in this country. No one should have it easier or more difficult to be able to walk around on campus based on the way we look. And if you are leaders on these campuses today, you're failing us. I went to Cornell for grad school, failure. Columbia, failure. Harvard, failure. Fix it right now. I want to let you all know that we, especially on this side of the dais, we have your back. We will fight anti-Semitism tooth and nail, and thank you for the courage and continue to fight for your people, and most importantly, continue to fight for our fellow Americans. God bless you. Thank you for being here. I yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you.
Thank the gentleman from Texas. I will now recognize the gentlelady from Texas.